if you don't mind, because I've had this question asked before, why did you start True Mentors? So there should be another one out right there. Just turn it on real quick. There you go.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Thanks for being here, everybody. I really appreciate the support and the inquisitive minds that are here to see what this is all about. And Quentin's done a great job putting on. I really appreciate it. So True Mentors was an idea I had and a vision I had to really change the way youth and people that aren't able to reach out to leaders of business and leaders of industry, leaders of sport, weren't able to reach out and understand what did it take? How did you get there? I was always bothered that when I look at what goes on in the media every day and different forms of information that basically it doesn't ever seem to get out there that entrepreneurs, CEOs, world-class athletes, it's not luck. Nobody gave them what they got. They worked their butts off to get where they're at. And they probably went through a lot of trials and tribulation to get there. So when I saw that the most CEOs and presidents and leaders of business and sports that I met were great people, usually people that outwork the people around them. Usually they're people that were very passionate about what they did. Usually they're people that were servant people, servant leaders. And it bothered me when I would hear that gosh, that person probably had it given to them. That athlete, yeah, they're born that way. That's their genes, right? Well, no, they probably worked pretty doggone hard to be a world-class athlete, to play in the NFL. Probably worked pretty doggone hard to be that all-star basketball player, football player, whatever. In business, if they're leading a business, they went through a lot of trials and tribulations, and they probably worked their butt off to get there. And I just don't think that we're seeing enough of that. And I guess that was one reason I saw opportunity. But I was asked to speak in front of a group of billionaires and millionaires in Florida a few years ago. And Bernie Marcus, the founder of Home Depot, asked me to just talk about where my success was derived from. So I had to think about it, and I thought about it a lot. And the single reason for my success was mentorship and networking with great people. So because I like people, because I love business and the challenge of business, I was able to constantly ask people around me, hey, how the heck did you do that? When I started our business a long time ago, 30-some years ago, we'd be paving a driveway for somebody. They have a beautiful home. They drive a nice car. And I would look and say, gosh, they own this house. To drive this car, that person's got to make $500,000 or $600,000 a year. How the heck they do it? And instead of wondering, I often ask the question. Sometimes the person didn't want to answer the question, or they thought I was an ignorant young guy that shouldn't be asking the question. But very often they said, hey, let me tell you what I did. Let me tell you how I did this, right? And more often than not, they would kind of get a kick out of it and want to share their success with me. So when I heard success stories at a young age, at 18, 19, 20 years old, while I was beginning my business, I started to understand what leaders think like. And I actually asked people if they'd mentor me. So back then it was like, hey, it wasn't mentor me. It was, hey, can I sponge off you? Would you help me? I'm trying to start this business. And very often these successful people that lived on the North Shore or lived in beautiful homes would say, yeah, you know what, you could buy me a coffee sometime or buy me lunch and I might share my story with you. So that's kind of how it started. And after 30 years of that, it kind of worked. I mean, I think all the bugging I did with people, all the sponging I did off of people, I realized I had a lot of friends out there that I learned a ton from. So, this mentorship thing came along 5-6 years ago. You heard more about mentorship and all that and networking. But gosh, because I love what I do, because I love entrepreneurship, I became a crazy networker and a mentorship guy. So that's kind of what happened. So when I told my story to Bernie Marcus and a bunch of these billionaires and millionaires in Florida, I just said, hey, you know what? I believe that mentorship is the exclusive reason for my success. I barely made it through high school. I was kind of wanting to go to college, never got there. And if without mentorship, I probably wouldn't be, anywhere near. I know I'd be nowhere near where I am today. So I think about the mentors in my life, and there's many of them. Some that taught me work ethic, some that taught me finance and marketing skills and things like that. But my goal initially was to be the best driveway paving guy I could be in the state of Illinois. That worked out. I became a really, really good driveway paving company within 10 years, or we did. And then it was, okay, how do I become the best parking lot paving company in the marketplace? And maybe another 10 years later, we were one of the best. So I said, gosh, this is pretty good stuff. I sponged off of some really good good competitors and people across the country. And pretty soon I was asking who are the best in the country, who are the best parking lot paving companies in the country. So I got to know a few of them, got to be good friends with them. I kind of sponged off them. I learned what they did. I kind of copied them. And then I said, okay, great. Now we're, within 5-6 years, we're as good as about anybody. And we said, now how do we become the biggest, the best, and how do we do work for the best companies? And continually asking those questions to the right people that had been there and done it, the roadmap became very clear. So I mean, we started with a vision, and it became very clear. But without great mentoring, it would never be there. So when I talked in front of all these billionaires and millionaires, I asked the question. That there was a couple hundred in the room, and I said, hey, Bernie Marcus is sitting there, and Sheldon Adelson, and Jeb Bush, and a bunch of different people that had been very successful. And I said, how many people in this room think back that there's a mentor in their life that meant more to them than any education ever? And it wasn't 75%, it was like 90% of the people in that room raised their hands. So then I said, okay, think about, is there anybody out there in the world today that think of you like you think of that mentor that you're thinking about right now? And every one of them raised their hands, said, definitely, right? So I said, so how cool would it be if you got somebody out there that you're mentoring, that you mentor, that think as much of you as you do the mentor that got you to where you got? How cool would it be if you could be thought of like that by thousands? Because you can share your story in a way that thousands could really sponge off you, be mentored by you, right? And all of them liked the idea. So after I was done, I met with, I talked to a lot of these people after this panel discussion, all that, and many of them came up to me afterwards, and I said, okay, I'm coming after you. Bernie Marcus, I'm coming after you. I'm coming after you. As soon as I get this thing done, I'm coming after you. So my goal is to get hundreds and thousands of leaders in business and sports and politics to be in this mentorship network. And if I can do that, and we can create access to where any kid anywhere could reach out to a CEO, a president, a great athlete, right? And they can reach out by a profile, right, first, and understand who that person is, how they got to where they got, how they think as a leader, right? You're going to learn a lot from that. But then if on top of that, that kid or that person could build a little resume and ask to be mentored one-on-one personally by that person, how cool could that be? So that's the goal, right? Next is how do we find opportunities and internships for these mentees that one of us mentor, and we say, gosh, this person, this kid is amazing. They're really passionate about this dirty, ugly paving business I got, right? How do I find this person a job, right? I mean, I think if all of us are mentoring people that are passionate about what we do, we're gonna work like heck to find them opportunity. And how cool is that when today, tomorrow, in the future, if a person anywhere, in any situation, financially, could reach out to mentor and ask great questions and actually form a relationship by somebody that's been there and done it, it's going to make their life a lot easier. It's going to create a vision that they might not have had otherwise. So, did I answer that question?
You answered the question, sir.
All right, I talk too much.
Yeah.
Pull the plug from me anytime you want to.
I appreciate it. No. And you actually said some things in there that was really important. He actually actively went out there and said, hey, can you mentor me? Right? He asked the right questions. He got certain things. He didn't care what the person was saying.
Back then, I usually said, could I sponge off you? Though?
Well, we don't say sponge now. But yeah, absolutely. I definitely understand it. So I appreciate that. So awesome.